What's up everyone, and welcome back to the MMA Zone. Today, let's get started with Conor McGregor versus Michael Chandler at UFC 300. With only a few more fights to go, the UFC 300 card is filling up fast. Despite that, there's been no word as to who will be headlining the historic card. While initial hopes was that Conor McGregor would headline the card, the former champ indicated on social media on New Year's that he and Michael Chandler would be competing in June, on the heels of Dana White indicating that McGregor's return still hasn't been finalized. Both he and Michael Chandler took to social media to respond to a post made by the UFC, highlighting the 300 card. In response to the card having TBD versus TBD listed as the main event, Chandler wrote TBD ... In a separate post, McGregor responded, writing, "McGregor on 300 seals the deal." In response to McGregor's response, Chandler wrote, "I accept. See you soon, Conor McGregor. UFC 300." In response to the UFC 300 card as it stands right now, Nate Diaz took to social media showing he and McGregor face-to-face in the octagon, writing, "Real war," with Diaz also previously indicating that he would be interested in returning to the UFC. It sounds as though the ball is in the UFC's court. Next up, let's take a look at Dricus Plessis reveals shocking news. The decision in the UFC 297 main event has continued to be a source of debate among the MMA community. While some felt as though Strickland did enough to edge out 3 rounds and get the win, others were confident that scored the bout in favor of Dricus Plessis. This was the case with Dana White, who scored the bout in favor of Strickland, but admitted that a number of others he was watching the fight with scored the bout the other way. The newly crowned champion spoke on SuperSport Unplugged.
I understand calling for a rematch in a sense that you get the public behind you, saying, oh, you know you didn't win that fight. He came to me in the cage, and I think this is the first time publicly I'll say this, is he came to me in the cage directly after the fight, before they announced me as the new champion.
Yeah.
And I went to him and I shook his hand and I said, "You're a warrior, well done, it was a great fight." And he said, "No, you definitely beat me." He said that to me.
He said it to you?
He said to me, he said, "You deserve it, you won that fight, you beat me."
Yeah.
And I have to agree with you on that.
Since returning to South Africa, Du Plessis has been cleared for action at UFC 300. While he's open to a fight with Israel Adesanya, he's also expressed a desire to compete against Adesanya in Africa, ruling out UFC 300. With that in mind, it sounds as though the UFC have a number of options in regard to the middleweight title. Next up, let's take a look at Dana White furious with the MMA community. Dana White has been using Instagram Live to keep in touch with fans and announce more and more fights for UFC 300 over the past few weeks. At the same time, White has dealt with trolls online joking about oiling him up and calling him Dana Pink, both of which have irritated the UFC CEO in the past. During a recent Instagram Live, White seemed to get irritated by the trolls more so than in the past.
What else you got? Anybody got anything good other than stupid? All the fucking dumb shit you guys are posting on here right now? Punishing me? Punish me for what? What the fuck did I do? What the fuck did I do? You ain't doing anything but texting dumb shit on here anyway, so go watch it. Good night, everybody.
White also found himself in the crosshairs of fans earlier in the week after a fight between Jessica Andrade and Marina Rodriguez was announced for UFC 300. The news didn't go over well with fans, many of whom questioned why the UFC added the bout to the UFC 300 pay-per-view rather than to the UFC 301 card in Rio de Janeiro the following month. Now, let's shift gears and take a look at Justin Gaethje reacts to Dustin Poirier and Benoit Saint-Denis. At UFC 299, Benoit Saint-Denis will face the toughest test of his career when he fights former interim lightweight champion Dustin Poirier in a highly anticipated 5-round co-main event bout. While Saint-Denis has been on a tear, rattling off 5 finishes in 5 straight fights, the bout with Poirier will mark a significant jump up in competition for the 28-year-old. Ahead of the fight, Justin Gaethje spoke in an interview with Kevin Iola to share his prediction for the contest.
You know, God dang, it's such a crazy sport. I think luck and chance is a factor. And I'm not sure how big of a factor, but I think it is a factor. So I absolutely believe that he could, if, he's not unlucky, too much. But I think his skill is up there. I think it's a very similar situation for when I fought Fiziev, a young up-and-comer. Obviously full of confidence, full of hunger, not sleeping in silk sheets yet. Poirier is. I was. And these are guys that are dangerous. They're young, they're hungry, they're confident, they got crazy skills. Fighting is a dangerous game, and chance is a factor.
Currently, fans seem to be incredibly divided on the UFC 299 bout. On DraftKings, Poirier sits as a plus 110 underdog to Saint-Denis' status as a negative 130 favorite. While Saint-Denis is riding an impressive winning streak to the fight, Poirier is eager to put a UFC 291 loss to Justin Gaethje behind him. Next, let's take a look at Sean Strickland and Nina Marie Danielle dating rumors. Leading up to the UFC 297, fans theorized that Sean Strickland and influencer Nina Marie Danielle were dating, given the amount of content the two were making together. In addition to the interviews of Strickland, Nina Marie also appeared in some more lighthearted videos, one of which showed the two playfully sparring. After the bout, Nina Marie continued to show her support for Strickland on social media, also notably using a clip from a pre-fight interview, interwoven with video footage from after the UFC 297 fight. In the comments, some fans theorized that the two were dating, while others pointed out that Nina Marie's boyfriend films her videos, and nothing is likely going on between her and the former champ. One fan responded to the video writing, "Nina's boyfriend's gotta be like, damn, alright, enough with this guy." But serious note, Strickland won that fight. In response, Nina Marie herself took aim at the troll, writing, "You've never had a female friend? Sean is one of my best friends, and I'll always have his back." As others pointed out, Strickland has a girlfriend of his own, and despite any sort of chemistry shown between the two, it appears as though everything between them is completely platonic. Next, let's take a look at Dan Hooker versus Beneil Dariush next. After having his recent fight with Bobby Green canceled as a result of a re-injury to his arm, Dan Hooker is eager to make his return to the octagon in 2024. After falling to 10th place in the UFC lightweight rankings, Hooker is eager to build on a 2-fight win streak that most recently saw him defeat Jalen Turner via split decision. During a recent video for Engage on YouTube, Hooker spoke about his return, indicating that he wants to fight number 7 ranked lightweight Beneil Dariush. While the Hangman is still working his way through rehab, he believes that he'll be ready to go this summer.
I know that I'll fight Beneil in June. Whether that be McGregor's card, International Fight Week, if he's just pulling everyone's chain as he usually does. I heard they're coming back mid-year sometime in Australia. That as well, it'll be cool to fight close to home. So Benny's racked above me, coming off a couple of losses, but let's go, baby. Scotty's come out and said, he wants to see if he's still got it. Well, I can check, brother. I'll check for you.
In the case of Dariush, after losing to Charles Oliveira at UFC 289, the previously streaking contender then dropped a first-round knockout to Arman Tsarukyan back in December to close out a winless 2023. With Dariush's sights set on returning to title contention and Hooker eager to return from injury, a matchup between the two seems like a natural fit. Next, let's take a look at UFC Champion reveals next UFC fight. After an impressive win over Brandon Royval at UFC 296, Alexander Pantoja is already setting his sights on his next title defense. While it's unclear who Pantoja will wind up competing against, the flyweight champ is eager to return to action at UFC 301 in May. During a recent interview with MMA Junkie, Pantoja's coach, Marcos Parrumpa Damata, from American Top Team, shed light on the plans for the champ's next title defense.
He's back training. He wants to defend his title in Rio in May. That's something that we really asking, the UFC and his managers to make it happen, because it means a lot to him. It's the first time that he's gonna fight in Rio de Janeiro. And he even said that, said, man, I fought everywhere. I fought in Korea, I fought in the United States, Europe, Abu Dhabi. I never said no to any fight. Please, just let me defend with my people,
As Damata indicated, he believes that if Brandon Moreno were to win his upcoming UFC Fight Night Mexico bout, then the UFC will push for a 4th fight between Pantoja and Moreno. At the same time, after Amir Albazi was forced out of his fight with Moreno, once the top-ranked contender returns to action, he could quickly find himself back in the title picture. As Parrumpa explained, the opponent doesn't matter. Pantoja simply wants to fight in Brazil at the UFC 301 card. The MMA community is concerned with Conor McGregor after he posted sparring footage to his Twitter. In the video, you can see Conor visibly slower, and while it's just sparring, he looks sloppier than usual. Here's what the MMA community had to say. Damn, even his sparring partners are yes men. My goat is stuck in the mud. Dude looks slower than he has ever looked. Was the other guys not allowed to throw back? Lord have mercy, I know it's sparring, I've been there, but everything looks so sloppy. I miss his footwork and timing. Please prove me wrong, fam. Top comments. I feel Kayla came to the UFC to avoid Cyborg, and now with Amanda talking about coming back, looks like she ran into a worse situation. Hamzat wants to fight 1 time a year and I'm tired of his callouts. Someone responded with, I don't know, man. I really do think there's more to it behind the scenes. I don't know if it's political or if he's only going to fight in the Middle East or something. I just want Hamzat to finally fight Costa so we can end this hype train. Make sure to leave a comment and you might get featured in our next video. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications to never miss any MMA news. Check out our video from yesterday if you missed it. See you tomorrow.